Hey everybody, I want to talk a little bit about the St. Louis Blues practice fight that happened yesterday between Robert Bortuzzo and Zach Sanford, and it really wasn't much of a fight. Zach Sanford never even got his gloves off. It was more of Robert Bortuzzo just throwing punches at Zach Sanford in frustration, and if you haven't seen it yet, I'll post a link to video of it down in the description below. It wasn't all that much. It was a pretty quick event, but everyone's been talking about it, and it's kind of become a big deal. And this is far from the first time teammates have fought in practice, and this kind of thing probably happens a lot more than you guys even realize. However, it's become a big deal, not so much because there was a fight at Blues practice, but because it's so representative of the dysfunction and just disaster of a season that the St. Louis Blues are having this year. There's so much pent-up frustration, so much anger, and just so much disappointment in how this year has gone for St. Louis, because this was the year St. Louis was supposed to be put over the top. They had a good team last year, but they missed the playoffs by 1 point. They had a good team. Then this offseason, they overhauled the roster. They added all these new free agents. They made the huge Ryan O'Reilly trade. This team was supposed to be good. This team was supposed to be great this year. This was supposed to be a team that could contend for first place in the Central Division and go deep into the playoffs. Instead, they're the third worst team in the Western Conference right now. Only LA and Chicago are worse. This year has been an utter disaster for the Blues. They've already fired their coach. They've got Craig Berube coaching on an interim basis right now. They can't find ways to win games. They have 24 points. They're 11 points out of a playoff spot in the Western Conference. It's not even Christmas yet, and it seems like this team's season is over. It's all done. They're done, and it's not even Christmas. And this was supposed to be a team that could contend for the Stanley Cup. It's been an absolutely awful year for the Blues, and this is just a manifestation of all that frustration, all that anger, and just how everything has gone bad this year. And what I don't understand is, why are you fighting your teammates in practice? How about you fight opponents during the game? Help your team. Robert Bortuzzo does not have a fight in the regular season this year. Don't punch your teammate in the face. Go out in the game and get in a scrap. Energize your team. Protect a teammate. Get things going. Fight in a game. Don't fight at practice. What is fighting at practice accomplishing? Go out there in the game. And it's not just Bortuzzo, it's the whole freaking team. Don't take it out on each other. Take it out on your opponent. Use that anger and frustration to win games. St. Louis's best game this season, the best game that they played all year, came against the Nashville Predators the day after Thanksgiving. They won the game 6-2. They had 2 fights in the first few minutes of that game. Pat Maroon fought Austin Watson off the opening face-off of that game, and then only a couple minutes later, Braden Shen fought Ryan Hartman. That was a physical game. They took it to Nashville. They played with energy. They played with physical hockey, and they beat Nashville 6-2, and that has been their best game of the entire season. You would think that they would use that game as a turning point in their year to turn things around and get better. And you would think that they would look at the style of hockey they played in that game and use it as a blueprint for the rest of the year and say, hey, if we play physical, energy-filled hockey, emotional hockey, we can win and we can be a much better team. But no, after that game, they went right back to playing the way they were before. And that's why they're the third worst team in the Western Conference. St. Louis has only fought twice as a team since that game. They fought twice in that game, and they've only fought twice since. One was the day after against Winnipeg, Joel Edmondson. and then one was a couple weeks ago, a week and a half ago or so, when Vince Dunn got knocked out by Ian Cole. What? Fight in the games. Nobody on this St. Louis team is fighting in the games. But they're fighting at practice? Are you kidding me? What are you accomplishing punching your teammate in the face at practice? Go out in a game and punch the opponent in the face. And then win the game like you did against Nashville. I mean, there's your blueprint right there. But this team doesn't get it. They have toughness. St. Louis should be one of the toughest teams in the league. They should have way more fights than they do. They should play way more physically than they do. They've got Pat Maroon up front. They've got Joel Edmondson and Robert Bortuzzo on the back end. They've got Braden Shen, who even though he's a star player, is a physical guy, or at least used to be. This team should be right up there with Boston and New York and Detroit, near the top of the league in fights. And they're not. They're not even close. But they'll fight at practice? Give me a break. Come on. How about you take care of each other on the ice and energize the bench? There's so many opportunities in these games for guys to fight, and they don't. I've seen more turned down fights in the last year and a half of watching hockey than I've seen in probably the entire 10 years before that. Or where the opportunity for a fight is there and no one even goes over and asks. No one even offers. Well, so you're gonna grab your teammate in front of the net in practice and throw right hands at his face, but in a game you're too afraid to take a penalty and drop the gloves? That's ridiculous. Fight in the game. I mean, Bortuzzo was a tough guy in Pittsburgh. If you go back and look at when he played in Pittsburgh, he would fight 6, 7, 8 times a year for the Penguins. And he would fight a lot in the AHL as well. He was a tough defenseman. Since coming to St. Louis, he fights like once or twice a year. Why did he just stop fighting? Joel Edmondson, he's a big boy. Joel Edmondson is a big guy. He could fight way more than he does. He only fights like 2 or 3 times a year. Fight 6 or 7. Pat Maroon, he's the only one regularly dropping the gloves for the Blues, and even he has only had a couple of fights this year. Think he's had 3 maybe? And that's the most on the Blues team. Braden Shen was a wrecking ball in Philadelphia. I don't know what's happened to him. I know he's gotten better offensively, so obviously when you're a top 6 player and they don't want you spending a lot of time in the penalty box, but Braden Shen was a wrecking ball in Philadelphia. He would throw massive hits. He was always involved physically, always involved in scrums after the whistle, not afraid to drop the gloves. He would always fight 3 or 4 times a year for the Flyers. Since coming to St. Louis, he's only fought 3 times since coming to St. Louis. And he's fought once this year. It was in that Nashville game that St. Louis won 6-2 against Ryan Hartman. That's his only fight this year. Come on. Shen could drop the gloves more. This whole team could drop the gloves more. Fight in the games. They don't fight in any of their games, yet they fight at practice. It just shows the absolute dysfunction that this team is going through right now. And this is not a good team. And it just goes to show you that it doesn't matter how much you spend on free agents, what you do in the trade market, the team has to gel and work together. You can get as much talent as you want in there. You can get as much, as many goal scorers or great players that you can fit under the salary cap. But if the team doesn't gel and work together, then it's not going to be successful. And St. Louis is not successful right now. So it's just, it seems idiotic to me that Bortuzzo is fighting his teammate in practice but hasn't fought in the regular season. Fight the other team, not your own. That's pretty much my take on that. Fight the other team, not your own. And it just goes to show you how awful things are in St. Louis right now. I think this team's in big trouble. I would think that this team needs to blow up their core. They need to just completely restart. Take some of the young players that you want to build around. Take some of the elite players like Ryan O'Reilly that you want to build around. And then completely overhaul the supporting cast. And if core players have to go, guys like Pietrangelo, Bouwmeester, Alex Steen, those guys need to go. The guys who have been there for a long time, ship them out. Because what have they won? What has St. Louis won with this core group? Nothing. And now they're not even going to make the playoffs for 2 years in a row. Overhaul the team. That's my take on St. Louis. With that, like, comment, share, subscribe, follow on social media. Check out offthewallhockey.com. All those links are down in the description below. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. If you'd like to further support Off the Wall Hockey, the link to our Patreon as well as our merchandise store are down in the description as well. As is the link to the original video of the Bortuzzo Sanford practice fight. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys soon.